Welcome and what is up there, everybody? This is Casper Trader back here with another video today. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 3 ways to make money on Robinhood as a beginner. And spoiler alert, one of those ways are not going to be a very good way because a lot of people end up losing a ton of money, if not their whole portfolios, using this one type of strategy, which I'm going to share with you guys to keep you guys ahead of the herd and making sure you guys don't fall into this trap. But this video is basically going to be for people who are just starting out investing on Robinhood or just investing in general to show you guys all the tips and strategies you can use to make money on Robinhood. So before we get into the video, I'd really appreciate you guys could smash that like button below and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you guys have not yet. And if you're new to Robinhood, make sure to click that link down in the description below where you can get yourself a free stock when signing up to Robinhood using my referral link. You don't have to use mine, but mine's down there if you're just interested. Alright, so the number one biggest lesson I've learned throughout all my years investing on Robinhood is to not trade options. For those who don't know what options are, it's basically an obligation to buy 100 shares of a company. That's like the more complicated version, but basically in simple person terms, what it is you're basically trading a more volatile asset. For example, let's say you're trading options on a simple stock like SPY, which tracks the overall stock market or S&P 500, or something as simple as Robinhood, Apple, I meant. If you're trading options on Apple, what you're going to do is click this trade button and trade options. And when you buy an option, depending on various factors, this is going to change. But what it basically is, for example, if you buy a call, if Apple stock goes up by 1%, you might make 10%, or you might even make 100%. But if Apple falls and you buy a call, you could lose 50%, 70%, 80% of your money. And this kind of stuff could even happen overnight, right when the market opens, because stocks move also in the pre-market and aftermarket hours when you can't trade options. And this could lead to some massive losses in your portfolio. And I know that I've personally lost so much money on options. I've lost a few $1,000s for sure just in the last like 6 months or so trading options on stocks like Tesla and SPY. So make sure to, if you do really want to get into options, because some people are actually very successful with options and are able to make a lot of money with them, but it does take a lot of practice and experience. I'd recommend either paper trading them first. So just using some kind of software that lets you trade with fake money so you can get the whole hang of it and practice your skills, or just going in with a very small amount of money that you're comfortable losing. But I really don't recommend going into them with any real money because it's just extremely risky, and most beginners who go into it, like me, even though I have some experience with them, I've been doing them for 2 years on and off, I still am not able to become consistently profitable. So it does take a lot of work and a lot of experience in order to do this well. So my number one recommendation is to stay away from options in the beginning, no matter what other people tell you. That's just my tip from my 2 years of options, huge options losses. And the second way you can actually make money is by doing something like swing trading. And what this is, for example, let's take a stock like SPY. For those who don't know, like I mentioned before, this tracks the overall S&P 500, which is a good tracker of the overall stock market. So you can see like in the last week, it's up around 2.6%. In the last month, it's up 2.9%. The last 3 months, it's up 7%. In the last year, it's up over 63%. And the reason for this huge upwards movement was because of that whole illness that happened last March. So you guys know that the whole stock market crashed back then. But what you can do basically with swing trading is buy on the dip on big blue chip companies. And I wouldn't recommend doing this on like sketchy little stocks because that's usually when you can lose a lot of money and they could have some super unpredictable movements. But if you trade a stock like, for example, SPY, which tracks the overall stock market, it's not going to have any massive unexpected movements. So what you can do is simply buy stocks, like let's say you see a simple staircase pattern where you can see that this stock usually dips down right here, bounces up, dips down right here, bounces back up. You can simply buy on the dip and hold it once it goes up and sell it. But even if you miss, for example, let's say you buy on the dip like almost perfectly, you buy at 370 per share and you hold it, hold it, hold it. You see at a 392, you still hold it, and you miss the exit point where you thought you should have sold, and it just goes down after that. That's still not a problem when you're trading blue chip companies, which are just big companies that don't move around extremely volatilely. Like they don't move a lot up and down percentage wise. And they're stable companies that will end up going up in the next 5 years, no matter what. So even if you miss this exit point, let's say you don't sell it around this area and you're still holding and holding and holding, this stock will most likely still bounce back to a price where you'll be pretty profitable. So for example, if you missed this exit point, you held through here, you could have still sold right here for a nice juicy profit of around $27 per share if you bought it on the dip here. And that's one of my favorite strategies, especially when having a small account with not too much money and you want to grow it. We're able to pull out, for example, if you held it from 370 and you sold it at 390, that's an easy 5 to 8% gain on a trade that lasted from, let's see, January 29th to February 12th. So that's around 2 weeks. The average stock market return year over year is around 8 to 10%. So you basically made that in 2 weeks. If you get in at the right time, you get out at the right time, and you're doing this with safe companies, you could definitely make a decent amount of money, and even the same amount of money some people take a whole year to make just long-term holding stocks. So this is definitely one of my favorite strategies, and I recommend you try it out. And if you want to try something out without any risk, just use fake money, because you don't want to be risking real money when you're just starting out, because sometimes things don't go your way, and it could lead to some pretty big losses. So yeah, and one more thing I want to mention is don't really use Robinhood charts, because as you can see, these are just simple line charts, and even their candlesticks aren't really good. I can make a different video talking about candlesticks, as it's a more in-depth way of analyzing the stock price. But I'd recommend using a website like TradingView or a software like Thinkorswim by TD Ameritrade to analyze stocks, especially when you're doing things like swing trading, so you can find the right time to buy a dip and sell at the top when the stock is overextended. So that's what I'd recommend for you guys. Just don't use Robinhood charts as well. They aren't very accurate. They're just there to provide simplicity and a general idea of what's going on. So yeah, that's my second way of making money on Robinhood. And the third way I would recommend to make money on Robinhood is just long-term investing. And I know I said that's how much people 7% to 10% is what people make on average per year long-term investing, but that's with safe long-term bets. However, if you invest in things like growth stocks, even the S&P 500 right now is growing pretty well. Let's see, for example, in the last 5 years, it's up over 97%. So that's about a 2x return. So if you put in, let's say, $1,000 5 years ago, you would now have $2,000, which is a pretty decent return for just holding 5 years and not touching it at all. But if you do want to invest long term, I recommend looking into more of growth stocks. And this is just my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some guy who trades stocks for fun, and I just have some experience from doing this myself. And I'm just trying to teach you guys my own life lessons with stocks. But if you're trying to long-term invest, I'd recommend trying to find stocks that are doing really well in the last 5 years and have a consistent chart. So for example, let's say Visa. Visa's up 2.5%, 2.4% today. In the last 5 years, you can see it's up over 190%, which is almost twice as much as the SPY is up. So you can see 5 years ago, a Visa stock was around $75, $77 per share. And if you bought it there, held it, you would now have about 3 times your money. So if you put in $1,000, you would now have around $3,000. So that's an example of a nice growth stock that I'd be comfortable buying and holding long term, because I know it's probably going to outperform the market. Another good example of a growth stock that I also liked to trade back in the day was MasterCard, also another credit card company. They are up over 290% over the last 5 years. So those are some crazy gains. 5 years ago, it was at around $95 per share, and now it's at over $360 per share. So that's like a 4x return. So that's $1,000 into $4,000 in 5 years. So you can go around and search big companies that have been growing well in the last 5 years. And what I'd recommend doing is just buying them on the dip. If you see a company that you really like, has a consistent growth pattern, as you can see on their charts, and you see a dip happen, just buy it on the dip and hold it. And if you happen to come across with some more money and you see a dip, boom, buy it and hold it. And eventually your position will grow, and so will your gains in the stock. And I really want to encourage you guys not to panic sell, especially in times like the whole illness that happened in March. I can show you guys the whole stock market so you guys can get a better idea of what was going on back then. But let's say the SPY, it dropped from $337 per share down to $228 per share. So that's over $100 drop for this stock. And a lot of people panic sold on the bottom. And you really don't want to panic sell on the bottom, because that's when you lose the most money. Because if you let's say you bought it around $315 per share, you were holding, you're making some money, and then it crashed down to even around, let's say, $250 per share. You lost over $60 per stock. And what's the point of selling down there? You know that if it's a strong company that's going to succeed in the future, or if it's like this, which is the S&P 500, which tracks the overall stock market, and you guys know the saying, stocks only go up, it'll most likely rebound sooner than later in the next few months, or even maximum like a year or two. And you guys know you're going to be back in the profit in no time. So if you just ended up holding throughout this whole crash, let's say through March, you would be in the profit by the end of July. So that's just something I'd recommend for you guys. Don't panic sell if there's a crash. If something, that's more of a better time to buy some more stocks where you can pick up shares at a way lower price than they were a long time ago. So that's what I go about with long-term investing. And just to show you guys a few stocks you guys can take a look at when doing long-term investing, some of my favorite growth stocks are going to be Visa, MasterCard, like I showed you before. Microsoft, I am a big fan of Microsoft. I used to hold this stock long-term for a while. They also pay dividends, which is a certain amount that a company pays out for you in cash, or you can reinvest it back into your stock. Just as a reward for holding their stock. It's like free money. It's awesome. So Microsoft also pays out a pretty nice dividend of 0.9%. And over the last 5 years, it's grown over 340%. So if you invested in this 5 years ago, it was around $51 per share. And now you'd have Microsoft at $240 per share. So those are some crazy gains just from holding a stock long term. And what you could do is simply just pick up shares on the dip and hold it and ride it upwards. And you're going to be making money in gains as well as some dividends coming into you on the side. Another great stock, you can't go wrong with this, is Apple. AAPL is the symbol for it. Look at the last 5 years, also some amazing gains, similar to Microsoft, 360%. If you bought 5 years ago, it was $23 per share, and now it's over $123. So those are just a few stocks that I'd recommend taking a look at if you're looking to long-term invest. Definitely one of my favorites is Microsoft, though, because it pays out a pretty nice dividend. Apple does too, but I don't know why. Microsoft just has my heart. But just do your own research on different stocks you like to get into. Trade with a little bit amount of money so you can get some experience in. And when you think you're ready to go, you can go with bigger money. So those are my 3 ways to make money on Robinhood. Just a quick recap. That's going to be not trading options. You can trade options, 100%. Don't recommend it though, because I've lost so much money in it, and I don't want you guys to lose money as well. Second way is swing trading, which is a great way to grow a small portfolio. And number 3 is just investing long-term into growth stocks. So that's basically all my ways making money on Robinhood. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.